10:02, we're right after 10 a.m. on June 17th. It's Thursday. We're continuing to track our tropical disturbance in the Gulf of Mexico, and the big part of today is it's now in the Gulf of Mexico. But let's start with what it's looking like right now. It's still very unorganized, a broad area of spin down here in the southern Gulf. Of course, here's Mexico, New Orleans, Louisiana, Texas, not even on the map or just off the map up there, but a very broad spin. And the first thing you notice is this is the general area of the circulation, but all the storms, all the convection, whatever you want to call it, the clouds are well displaced to the east. So this thing is still really unorganized. It is not coming together quickly, but it is trying to organize some. And we were looking at some trends this morning. And while the National Hurricane Center, kind of the broad area of low pressure is right in here, there's something interesting going on. We've got storms actually forming up here on kind of the north side, well away from where that low is. Now, that is not a well-defined circulation, but we might try to see one develop later on today, closer to where we're seeing these storms. For tropical development, you need continuous showers and storms to kind of fire up, and then that's what gets you your low pressure developing. So it is possible that maybe we see a new area of low pressure develop somewhere in this general vicinity, which is, 100 or so miles away from where this broad low is. So that's what we'll be watching today. The hurricane hunters, they are scheduled to fly out in this thing. Their flight was originally scheduled for like 10 a.m., but they delayed it. I'm not sure why, but hopefully they get out there later this afternoon or into this evening and get an idea of maybe what's going on down in this general area. But it just goes to show you this thing is still really unorganized, and there's still a lot of uncertainty because it is so organized. I was talking earlier that it's easier to forecast a Category 5 hurricane than it's easier to forecast a mess like this, because there's just so many different moving parts. There's so many things that have not come together at this point. Now, the forecast with this thing, we still think we're going to have a depression probably later today or by tonight or tomorrow. But either way, it's not going to be a quick process, and it doesn't look like it's going to be much more than a depression. Maybe it does get a name, maybe it does not. Not a big difference there in what we're expecting here. But either way, it's got a large area of moisture on the east side of it, very lopsided, and this is what's all headed up towards the northern Gulf of Mexico. And as you can see there, the chance is pretty much a guarantee that we likely get at least a depression as this all lifts up to the north. Then the question becomes, well, where does that center of that low develop? Because that is really important to where the heaviest rain is going to fall. So this model is actually doing a pretty good job at depicting what we've got going on. It's got the broad low here, very broad. But watch what happens. We put this model in motion here, and you'll notice there's one thing happening. You've got your broad area of low here, but look at this. I want you to notice this little kink. We call that an isobar. It's a pressure line. And what happens here is you get that new area of spin, or new area of circulation developing, kind of up where we're seeing those storms this morning. So this could be that center trying to form. And then depending on where that center goes is going to determine where the rain is. Now, this is going to be lopsided. Look at all the dry air on the west side of that low. If you're west of the low, you're probably not going to get any rainfall. Even if you're near the center of that low, you're probably still not going to get much rain. But if you go just east of it, that's where all the heavy rain is going to fall. So what we're going to be watching, not only today, but even tomorrow, is where does that low develop and where is it tracking? Because if you're near that, you're probably not going to get much rain. But if you're staying east of it, you're probably going to get some pretty good rain. And then I just wanted to show this is by Saturday, Sunday. That thing is moving on out. So the main impacts from this right now still appear to be we could start to see some rainfall by tomorrow morning, but then rain picking up through the day and especially into late Friday. We could really start to get on some of that heaviest rain, depending on where that low tracks. This is one of our high resolution models, and we're now within that time frame to where we can actually use our high resolution modeling to see, maybe paint a picture of what could happen here. And this is tomorrow morning at about 4 or 5 a.m., give or take, of course. Notice we got some showers, a few storms spreading up over the area. Not a big deal yet. Then as we go through the day, here comes our first batch of moisture producing some rounds of heavy rainfall. This is if the center is off over here. If the center's closer to here, this rain may be a bit further off towards the east. That's a tricky part of this forecast. And then as we go into the afternoon and evening hours, and even into Friday night, still getting that batch of moisture and that plume of moisture spreading up over the northern Gulf. And this specific model has the low a bit far to the west, I will say. There's a few models that have the low closer to here, and that could, shift this rain a bit further off to the east. So these are just those things that we still can't tell you because that low has not formed, but there is that potential for some pretty heavy rainfall throughout your Friday, but especially by Friday night. And that's just kind of painting the picture that, yeah, heavy rainfall definitely could be an issue Friday night, even into Saturday morning. Now, one thing I've been noticing, and this is in most of the models, is that by the time we get past Saturday morning, we're talking Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, into Sunday, this low will be probably north of us at this point. And what will be happening, it'll be pulling in all that dry air. So the chance for rain will probably be a lot lower Friday or Saturday afternoon into Saturday night and Sunday than what it will be on Sunday morning. So there may be plenty of breaks in the rainfall Saturday. We'll cross our fingers and hope so, but that's just one of the scenarios. When you start getting dry air in these weak systems, not only can it throw a wrench in the forecast, but sometimes those rainfall totals, they can underperform. It just depends. But that's what we'll be watching throughout Saturday is, you know, the back end of the day. I still think there's going to be some showers and storms around on Saturday afternoon and evening, but we might get lucky enough and see some of that dry air come on in and knock down our rain chances late on Saturday. Now, with the current forecast, we still have that low coming in somewhere southwest, south central Louisiana. Looks like a good bet. And this is what we're thinking rainfall total wise. We'll say on average, and these are very average totals, 6 to 8 inches seems like a good number. And then there's going to be probably a few spots that do pick up more than 10 inches, but these are going to be isolated areas, and these are, you know, micro things happening in the atmosphere that we can't forecast as far out. So if you do get under one of those bands, or if you continuously get some heavy rain tomorrow into Friday night, Saturday, you could very well pick up over a foot of rainfall. That is in the realm of possibilities. So something we'll have to watch. Now, at the same time, I was talking about the path of this matters so much. I want to show you some of our models. This is the GFS model, the American model, and this one takes the low more over us. And you can see it's not forecasting a lot of rain for our area. It's only forecasting maybe a couple of inches through the weekend. Well, look just off to the east. You go into Mississippi, you go off into Alabama, and you're looking at rainfall totals that are much, much higher. So this is going to be one of those things where if the low tracks over us, maybe the heaviest rain is just to our east. But, you know, on the other hand, there is still that possibility that that low tracks just to our west and we get some big time totals. This is the European model. So these are our two global models we use, and it's painting a similar picture, but over us. So you notice there's this band of heavy rainfall that could potentially set up over us tomorrow and going into Saturday. And it's showing totals over 7, 8, 9 inches. And even earlier it was showing maybe 13, 14 inches in a few spots. So that's why we're not out of the woods, that's for sure. But at the same time, you need to know that there is still a lot of uncertainty with where that heaviest rain is going to fall. It could fall over southeast Louisiana. It could fall more over Mississippi. It could fall more over Alabama. And even the Florida Panhandle could see some pretty high totals from this, just depending on that track. So this is with the low pressure tracking over here. The GFS was tracking the low pressure over us, and it kept the rainfall just to our east. And the reason that rainfall is not near the center is because there's wind shear and dry air. So this is not going to be a big windstorm. This is not a wind event. This is going to be a rain event, like we sometimes and often see with these June storms. They're not very organized. So that's going to be our primary threat. Notice pretty high on the rainfall. Coastal flooding. It's southeast Louisiana, it's South Mississippi. You don't even need really a strong wind to get coastal flooding, but we'll likely have coastal inundation. It doesn't look like anything too significant, but tides running 1 to 3 feet above normal. That will start tomorrow, and that will go through the weekend more than likely. So need to watch that. Our low-lying areas down from Terrebonne, Lafourche, Jefferson, Lower Jefferson, Plaquemine, St. Bernard, and up the Mississippi coast, you're going to see some water rise, it looks like. And then the wind threat, yes, there could be some gusty winds here and there, but that is not a big concern. And anytime you get a landfalling system, and if you're to the east, you're going to have a few isolated spin-up tornadoes. So that's what we'll be watching with our threats. Now, speaking of those winds and our onshore flow and talking about when we could really see that water rise, this is tomorrow morning, and I like this graphic. It breaks down the wind speeds by color. So any blue color is going to be a tropical depression, you know, 30 to 35 mile per hour winds. But once you get up to 39, 40 miles per hour, that's where you see those peaks. Those are going to be tropical storm force winds perhaps. And you know, we could definitely start to see that stronger wind kind of push on in with some water rise by tomorrow morning through the afternoon. I would not be surprised if you start to see the water creep up just a little bit through your Friday. Now, the bigger winds, if we do see any 40, 45 mile per hour wind gusts, it will likely be closer to Friday night going into Saturday. You could see a bigger area of those pinks. That's where you're going to start to get into maybe some 40 to 45 mile per hour wind gusts, maybe up to 50 in our coastal areas down off in the Gulf. But overall, inland spots are not going to see significant wind problems. It's going to be mainly near the coastal areas. But as I mentioned, notice our wind barbs. This is going to be, that's where your low would be on this model, and you've got strong southerly flow, and that's going to be pushing up some water. So that's why the water could rise maybe 1 to 3 feet with how it looks right now. And that's very typical with a depression or maybe even a weak tropical storm. So it just goes back to, even if this does become a tropical storm, it would be a weak one, it looks like. And, you know, you're only talking a difference of maybe 5 to 10 miles per hour. But, you know, you hear tropical storm, you think, bigger deal. Really, the winds are not going to be much of a difference, whether it's a depression or whether it is a tropical storm. So our 7-day forecast, today's great, by the way. Do any preparations today, sandbags. And this is going to be one of those things where it's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. A lot of times you can go get these sandbags and they may last you all hurricane season if you're lucky, and you don't have to go out and do it the rest of the season. But go out there, prepare today, especially if you live in a flood-prone area. And then by tomorrow, we'll be looking at rain moving in, spotty in the morning, and then it should fill in through the afternoon. And then by late in the day, we could be dealing with some pretty heavy rainfall, so our flooding threat will definitely be high. And then on Saturday, that rain will likely be more widespread in the morning, but I do think we're going to start to see some breaks in the rain by Saturday afternoon into Sunday. So for Father's Day, it might not be terrible. There's probably still going to be some showers and storms around. We'll have to keep an eye on it. There will definitely be deep tropical moisture around both days, so if you do get any showers, even with the spotty activity, definitely going to be heavy, but that's what we're looking at. So flooding is our main concern. Some coastal flooding secondary. Isolated tornadoes are definitely a possibility, and then we'll have to watch out for some wind gusts here and there. But overall, that wind threat, it does not look like a big deal. So let me just recap really quick. We continue to track our tropical disturbance in the Gulf of Mexico. It is all moving. It's a broad area of spin. It's not very organized at all, but it will likely try to organize some throughout the day. It's a big area of spin, so it's going to take its time coming together, but we're watching these storms on the northern side of this broad circulation, and this is where we could try to see the actual closed circulation of that what is expected to be a tropical depression form. So we'll just keep an eye on that. Hopefully the hurricane hunters get the chance to go out there today and give us much more information. But that's going to do it for your Thursday late morning tropical update. Of course, if we do get a tropical depression, we'll have more updates here online and, of course, on Channel 4 as needed.